I'd like to tell you about the work I do as a performance coach with athletes especially, but more and more with also other people who need to perform under pressure, actors, musicians, and so forth. It began when my youngest son, our youngest son, Ty, began to play tennis in the juniors, regional, sectionals, national, really intensely. And in the summertime, he would go down and play at Hilton Head at the Vandermeer Tennis Center, and we would go down with him. And I got more and more involved with looking at how your mental state and your emotional state affects your play, affects your game, affects your ability to produce under competition. There's a very famous and great sports psychologist, Jim Loehr, who I met there and who I studied a little with and went to some of his classes, and began to work with Ty's friends here in the New York City area. Then our youngest daughter came to us from Vietnam when she was about 6 years old, and in the late 90s, she tried different things, and one of the things she tried was figure skating. And she took to it wonderfully, and she became more and more serious. For 5 years, she was a competitive figure skater, and so for 2 hours for the last 3 years, every morning before school, Cindy and I would be there at the rink at Chelsea Pier in Manhattan. Well, she would be getting lessons and practicing and so forth. Some of the other skaters knew that I had worked with tennis players and golfers and some other athletes, and began to ask me about applying that to figure skating. Figure skating is one of the toughest sports there is. You know, you've got to, in a matter of 2 minutes or 3 minutes, you have to produce on the thin blade incredible maneuvers and jumps that you practiced for months and months and years and years. And so I began to work with other skaters, and actually began to write my book in what is Skating Out of Your Mind. Well, I was at the rink in those cold hours early in the morning over a period of more than a year. This, in fact, is the book, Skating Out of Your Mind. And I want to give you an example from it because I think you'll be really interested. When you're competing, this is now under pressure, there are really likely 4 options that are going to be the result. An increasing level of importance. The first one is, the lowest option is you're under that pressure and it's so unbearable that you want to just get it over with and get out of there, so you do whatever without saying to yourself, I'm going to fall. You fall, or you strike out, or you just lose the match because it's so uncomfortable to manage all that pressure. That's the lowest level, the least honorable. The level above that is getting angry. This is the old John McEnroe piece when he was in his early stages. If you get angry at something, it doesn't matter. It could be at the weak ice, or it could be at somebody who's distracting you, or you could suddenly get angry at the judges. If you express your anger in the course of the game or the match or the skate, it relieves the pressure. Not too great a route to go. The third level up is called choking. And actually, this is quite an honorable way to go out because you're giving it your best. You're not escaping into anger. You're not tanking. You're really going for it, and you tighten up, and you're unable to deliver your best game. An honorable place to be. And the fourth level, the highest level, I call rising to the occasion. And that's when the pressure brings you up and you are able to perform at your best. And that's where you have to learn to manage your mind and manage your emotions And everybody can learn to do that. So I work with individuals and began working with them face to face, and then began to work with people all over the place on the phone, some local, some in California. I had a student in Australia. When you're on the phone, you can go almost any place. Now, I am working with people in groups on the phone, and there's relatively small groups, but I'm finding that they're really exciting to do because each person adds something to the mix. And so typically it goes twice a month for an hour, and over a 6-month period you get 12 sessions learning how to manage that yourself in this area. So there are a lot of ways that you can learn to manage yourself under pressure. It's really worth the time, because the more proficient you become in your sport, the more you realize that a huge part of it is mental and emotional. It isn't all just technique and muscle memory and conditioning and so forth. This is a really fun way to add to your skill as a performer under pressure.